girlfriends gathering to stitch, laugh, sip wine, and relax. Tuesday night, you already know what time it is. Shirley's in the house, threads ready, wine ready, let's go. Wind down Tuesday, come stitch with me. Good vibes, good friends, and creativity. Wind down Tuesday, we laugh, we learn, got the machines humming while the threads turn. Ooh, yeah. Shirley's Threadwork in the atmosphere. Shirley's Threadwork in the atmosphere. Got the hoops lined up, fabric on the table, thread shining bright, yo, we ready and able. Quilters in the chat, embroiderers too. Everybody bringing their creative moves. Somebody stitching towels, somebody making bags, somebody buying fabric they already had. We don't judge here, we just create. Pour another glass, don't be late. Wheels dancing, machines singing. Every Tuesday night, you know we bringing love, style, soul, and thread. Wind down Tuesday, come stitch with me. Wind down Tuesday. Good vibes, good friends, and creativity. Wind down Tuesday, we laugh, we learn, got the machines humming while the threads turn. Ooh, yeah. One stitch at a time, one laugh at a time. Building something beautiful, one night at a time. Wind down. Wind down Tuesday. Wind down Tuesday. Come vibe with me. Threads, quilts, hoops, and creativity.
Hello, can you hear me? What about now? Can you guys hear me? Anybody should be able to hear me. Hmm. You can hear me. Okay, good, good, good. Sound is good. Perfect. All righty then. I tell you. Well, if you get to the point where you can't hear me again, let me know. I'm on a new computer, brand new, spank brand new computer with double monitors and all of that kind of stuff. So as long as you guys can hear me, thank you so much for letting me know. And thank you for those of you all that are saying that I look cute tonight. So thank you. All righty then. You know, anytime you switch things around, you don't know what you're going to get from it, because I could not tell that you could not hear me, because I could hear the sound coming out of the on the speaker, so I could hear it. So I couldn't tell if you guys could hear. So if it looks to the point where if it gets to the point where you still can't hear me, let me know, because um, I can't tell. I can't tell. So anyway, let's see who is in here watching and hoping that they have some sound at some point. Okay, let me see. I got to go all the way back to the top and see who's in here. Creative Notion, hello, how are you? Jenny, Robin, Quilt for Joy, Sharon Davenport, Doris Leonard, Robin, Cindy. Let me see, who else, who else, who else? Uh, Bonded Creation, hello, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. I don't remember your name, but I'm so glad you're here. Let me see who else dropped in while you couldn't hear me. Pretty Eyes, Covington, thank you for stopping by. Let's see, anybody else? Pearl, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. And I may have caught up with everybody. Uh, let me see. I think I have. I think I have said hi to everybody that is showing up in my chat right now. I don't see any new names that I haven't called out. So if I missed you, let me know. I don't think I have. Oh, and Becky, how are you? Okay, we are good. And I'm assuming you guys can still hear me. So all of that is all well and good. Good, good, good. I'm so glad to hear that. So tonight we are going to have some fun as usual. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy tonight's conversation that we're going to have. We are going to talk about projects that changed you. What was the first project that made you feel like I can really do this? If you're like me at all, when I first started, and I'm just going to start the conversation off. Um, when I first started, I wasn't sure. And I think this is very common for most people when they first start doing any type of craft, but especially with embroidery, sewing, and quilting. That's where we are focusing on. And I was not sure. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you don't mind, drop in the chat right now. What was the first project that you did that made you feel like, wait a minute, I think I can do this now? Because I'm telling you, it took a minute. It took a minute for me to get to that point. And I was thinking all along when I was coming up with this and doing my research and everything, what exactly was the first project rather, that I did that really solidified in my mind that yes, I can do embroidery. I started off with a 4x4 brother embroidery machine. I think it was called an LV 5000 or 500 Project Runway. And I have to tell you, it was the Project Runway name that caught my eye. They were selling it on HSN or QVC, one of those stations. And I decided to get it. And this was before the pandemic. So I didn't get my embroidery machine specifically for the pandemic or to make masks, but it was all right around the same time, within weeks of each other, that I actually got my machine. I got the machine home and I was listening to the advertisement when I decided to buy it. And they definitely told you, even though it's a small hoop, you can make it larger. Me not understanding what that meant or anything like that, I didn't think that that would be an issue because they said, "Oh, you can make it bigger, you know." And so I got it home, and in the process of waiting for the machine to get there and everything, I started doing some research, some reading up on embroidery and processes and how to do it. Bought a few books, things like that. And I realized, well, it's only going to get as big as the hoop as the space allows it to be. And if it's a 4x4, it's not going to be any bigger than a 4x4, unless, and I didn't know at that time that there is repositional hoops that you could use that could make it bigger, but I didn't know that. So I'm thinking 4x4 is as big as it's going to get for me. So when it got home, that's the way it was. And I instantly realized that is way too small. I am not going to be happy. So I have to admit, I turned around and sent it back. I don't want this machine. It's not the one for me. So then that's when I did some more research and decided to buy my SE 1900, my brother SE 1900, which the largest hoop size is 5x7, which is considerably larger than the 4x4, and that's what fit in my budget at the time because it was a big jump from a $400 machine. I believe it was a $400 machine to a $1,000 machine. So I didn't want to spend any more than $1,000 on my machine because I didn't know what I was doing anyway. But that was my beginning, but yet I still did not know what I was doing. So then that gets to the question tonight. When did I realize that I could do the work? When did I realize? So I saw someone else that hopped in, and that's Jenny Hancock. Thank you for dropping in. So, like I said, if you guys don't mind, if you can think of it, let me know what was the first project that made you feel like that you could really do this, that you could really embroider, if you could really quilt, if you're not an embroiderer, if you can really sew a garment or some type of decor, if you're not either one of the embroiderer or quilter? What was the first project that you did? For me, it had to have been, in all honesty, I guess when I started making masks, because I was successful enough and I did it well enough for people to want to buy the mask from me because I just started making masks for myself. I was an essential employee. I had to go to work throughout the entire pandemic, did not get a chance to stay at home like a lot of people. So I had to wear a mask. And out of protest, I made a mask that stated, I'm essential. Essential worker, I believe is what I put on the mask. And I had like a nurse's hat, stethoscope, or something like that. Even though I wasn't doing nursing, I I um I just felt some kind of way. I'm gonna be honest about it. I felt some kind of way because the job that I had, I could have done from home. My office that we worked in, could have done our job from home. I worked in the admission office of a hospital. And yes, you had to be a licensed RN to do this work because we had to review charts and we had to talk to doctors and we had to talk to discharge planners and insurance companies and people like that to get people to admit people into the hospital. But you can do that at a desk with a computer anywhere. It does not have to be in the office. And by them not letting us go home and work from home, again, I felt some kind of way. Because I didn't want to be out there in the midst of this pandemic every day, back and forth, being around other people and all of that. So my protest sign was that essential mask on my face, and I made several other. I think I had the coronavirus design on a mask, and some more little things I had, and people were laughing about it and liked it. And then the next thing you know, people were asking about, well, do you make that for other people? And I didn't, but I will. And that was the light bulb. You obviously are doing something right because people like the way it looks and they want you to make them one and they are willing to pay for it. And they were willing to pay the price that I asked because I was actually going to undersell myself, but my barber, because I was wearing my hair short blonde, like you guys have seen me. And she did hair and cut hair. So she would color my hair and cut my hair. And they wanted to buy masks for their shop. And they started the business because their shop um, clientele would order masks from me as well. So that's how it all started. And when I told her what I was going to sell it for, she said, "Oh, girl, no, you need to sell it for more than that." And I was like, "Really? You think they'll pay for it?" She said, "Oh, yeah, they'll pay for it." And so that's when I upped my price. And sure enough, people paid the price that I asked for. So, and it was more than $15. So I was able to sell my mask for a decent price because everything was handmade. You had to cut it out and you had to put the embroiderer thing on it and put it all together and the elastic and everything. So everything was handmade. So yeah, it was definitely worth what I charged. So that was the first project that I made that made me realize that yes, I could do it. And Cindy, you said, did you have a set price? Yes, my price was $20 a mask and the people paid for it. Yes, I did have a set price. I started off with the idea of 10. And like I said, I was told by a customer that that was too low, that I should be charging more. So let me see what some of the answers have been. Where, uh, so Cindy, you said your machine came with lessons. That's good. What machine did you buy? Because mine did not come with any lessons at all. Um, And Jennifer Hancock, you said, my mom helped me make my first quilt for my husband for our first Christmas and fell in love with the process. Oh, that was sweet. That was sweet. So that was your first project. And Pretty Eyes Covers. And the first for me was when I started sewing clothes for my granddaughters. Okay. And Quilt for Joy. It was when my pastor's wife commented on an Easter dress I made for my daughter. She asked me if I made it, and I was embarrassed. Then she said, "You don't find quality like that in stores." So she surprised you. You thought she was going to say something not too cool about it, and indeed she said it was an excellent product. So that's good. And Pearl, you said my biggest challenge was actually quilting because my first embroidery machine came with lessons, and that was the early 2000s. That's cool. My machine, my machine did not come with any kind of lessons. Uh, I picked up on embroidery from YouTube University, and my most um, valuable instructor was Eve from Baby Booty, from the Baby's Booty. I watched her religiously every Sunday night. And then there were other people that I watched as well. But she was, I would say, the main mentor that I gravitated toward in the beginning because I would watch her because she had a lot of beginner projects and she had a way about teaching it that really held your interest and she made it easy to understand. She would tell you and show you at the same time how to do something. So I really valued her time and effort that she put into formulating her lessons and stuff. And I don't know if there are any beginners out there watching or in the chat or wherever, but if there are, I hope her library is still up and active because I know for the past few years, several years, I want to say at least 4 years now, 3 or 4 years now, she's been concentrating quite a bit or pretty much exclusively with rhinestone and blinging and doing very well with it. But I hope her library of embroidery lessons are still available on her Baby's Booties site if there are new people that really want to learn things about embroidery because I have to tell you she did an excellent job and it really really helped me held my interest and it showed me how to do things and on top of that um, it made me realize that yes, I can do this. Just simply following the instructions. So I was really glad of that. And hi Danielle, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. And Leslie, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. And Cindy, you said your first machine was a VM 5100 which came with 12 months of Kimberbell and 12 months of Embroidery Club. Oh, wow. So 2 times a month, I drove an hour and 15 minutes to learn my first machine. That was very, very cool. Good. Now, because I bought my machine online, obviously I was not affiliated with a dealer. So I'm pretty sure that's what made a lot of difference from those of you that may have purchased your machine, especially your first machine from a dealer, and that dealer offered you lessons, then it's very beneficial to take advantage of those lessons. I did get, well, I won't say free lessons per se with my multi-needle machine. I was told that I could get assistance, but it wasn't a set up program where you come in once a month, twice a month, once a week, or whatever, and they had a lesson set up. If I needed help, then I could get help from them, is pretty much what I was told. If you needed them to show you how to do something or whatever, then I guess if I called them, make an appointment or whatever, I could come in and they would show me. But I never took advantage of that at all. So I never got any lessons from the dealer, even though it had been offered to me in that realm, not in a organized setup like you guys are discussing. That's pretty cool. And Pearl, you said every machine I had bought came with lessons, but YouTube was not out there then like it is now. Yeah, tell me about it. But that's really good. And Sharon, you said your christening, a christening gown from a Vogue pattern. A lady tried to buy while it was on the infant at the church. It was so good. That's cool. Found out that the mother ended up selling it to her when I told her uh, you wanted it to be used by the family. Okay, yeah, it would have been cool if she could have kept it and passed it down, but I get it. It was her to do as she pleased, obviously. Hi, Carol. Thank you for stopping by. Jennifer Hancock, you said, it was luck that at my first craft fair, I walked around at the end, saw an embroidery set up, and said, I can't wait to do that. She sold me hers, and she was because she was getting an upgrade. So blind luck, it was not a scam. That was cool. You never know when you're gonna find something lucky. And it turned out to be a great machine. That's good. What kind of machine was it? What kind of machine was it? If you don't mind sharing. I was just curious, Jennifer, what kind of machine was it? Oh, wow. Something I heard something. I don't know. Well, people been popping firecrackers already, so that's probably what what I heard. So, if you're thinking back, and all of us have, pretty much all of you said what your first project was that made you think that you could do it. Now, in the interim, before I actually, in all honesty, start doing the mask and putting designs on the mask that look decent enough for people to want to buy them, I practice on tiles, and I still have some of those tiles now because, again, Eve's suggestion was to start off with tiles. She said, go to Sam's or Costco or someplace and buy a bunch of the bundles of tiles that are inexpensive and use those to practice on because you're not wasting anything because even though you may have stitched it incorrectly, you can use it for a dust rag or something along that line. So it's not like you just have to pitch it and toss it. And that's exactly what I did. I kept them to use for dust rags, scrubbing rags, or whatever I needed to do, wrapping up when I'm moving, stuffing them in glasses and round glasses and anything that's breakable to give it some cushion. That's what I did. So I messed up some tiles. Trust me, I may have messed up the whole batch of them. I think I got like 12 or so. And I was trying all kinds of different designs that came on my machine mostly because I don't think I had invested in too many uh, designs. I hadn't discovered Etsy yet. So I'm using the designs on my machine. They had multiple colors and I'm trying to figure out how to hoop. And that was the one thing that was also about to make me give up because I had a horrible time hooping tiles. It was so difficult for me. It was frustrating. I could not believe that people struggled with hooping a tile the length of time that I struggled with it. How could you? This is not fun. It was not fun. I was so frustrated and I couldn't understand why it was so difficult for me to hoop the tiles. Obviously, I wasn't doing something right. But I eventually discovered magnetic hoops on Amazon. I don't know how. Somebody must have told me about it. But the ones that you have the magnets that you sit on top of the frame. You is a I got them back there. But anyway, once I discovered the magnetic hoop, I got a set. I got the 5x7 and I have the 4x4. And I still have those two um, magnetic frames. And that's when the light bulb went off and I realized, yes, you can do this. Because I bought the silicone mats from Dime to keep the hoops from slipping and sliding. And that didn't work. I bought some kind of apparatus that had pegs in it that you stuck your hoop on, and supposedly that was supposed to align it and keep it from scooting around. That didn't help. It was just everything was I tried and it didn't work. And I was on the verge of giving it up. I was on the verge of saying this is not for me. So that was my journey before I got the magnetic hoop. Then I realized I can hoop. Now I can stitch and it looks good and I can sell masks. So, as I said, then the light bulb went out and I said, wait a minute, I can do this. So that was my aha moment for me and the project. Hi, Eva Marie. How you doing? Thank you for stopping by. Um, and you say your first, Eva Marie, you said your first real embroidery machine was a Brother 630. No lesson, but a lot of perks and online designs, including Disney. Good, good, good. And yeah, okay. So everybody's crafter before and after are different, as we all know. And I'm glad to hear and see that a lot of people actually was lucky enough to get lessons with their embroidery machine, which is so very, very helpful. And for anybody that is new, when you are doing your shopping for your embroidery machine, and I'm not saying don't buy one online, but what I would do is do a lot of research. Don't do like me, because I honestly did not research any embroidery machines. I don't even know what made me gravitate towards a brother, to be perfectly honest about it, other than that advertisement on the shopping network, QVC, HSN, whichever one it was, and it happened to be a brother machine. And so I guess when I started looking for one online, I gravitated towards brother. That's how I got into brother. It wasn't like I had done any type of background research or anything on embroidery machine to see which brand was better than the other. I was a total novice, and I was a total um, uninformed person when I got into embroidery because I did not know anything about embroidery. I taught myself by YouTube University, reading books, and talking to other people. That's how I learned. I didn't go to any formal class or anything like that, but I did pick up on a lot of good, useful information in books and looking at various people on YouTube. And then when I started doing my own research, just for my own knowledge base, that's when I started learning about all the different machines. And another revelation occurred. I had absolutely no idea how much embroidery machines cost. I had absolutely no idea how much the accessories and notions and what have you in order to maintain your embroidery hobby or business costs. Stabilizer thread, scissors, rulers, hoops, all of those things. I had absolutely no idea. But what I did do, since I was working full time, whatever someone said was a good thing to use, I ran out and bought it. Somebody suggested that, I ran out and bought it. So, or I got on Amazon, whichever one. And it accumulated. It accumulated. Joanne was still open, so you could go to Joanne and get stuff. Obviously, you can get stuff from Amazon. I didn't go into any quilt shop or anything like that, but that's one of the reasons why I accumulated a lot of things that I don't use right now because I just kind of got it because somebody said I needed it. And, as time went on, you realize you didn't. So, Jenny, let me see what you said. You say that and this is Jenny Owens, my first project was embroidered, uh, what is that? Ior, and you framed it. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. And you still have it. Uh, I knew that I wanted to embroider more. The PE 400D came out in '03, and again, nowhere to go to learn. Yeah, yeah. And Sharon, you said that my first machine was a Brother SE400D. My issue was no one to learn from, and I thought I had to use the color threads that came up on the machine screen. Kept me from doing a lot at first. Yes, a lot of people get confused about that, and I have to be perfectly honest about there are still people that are confused about that. I still have conversation with people, and I see people talk about that and online and YouTube and what have you, thinking that not only do they have to have the same color, they have to have the same thread brand. And that is so untrue. It is your design. You can do it as you please. However, when you, my opinion, when you have a design that you purchase, and they have the suggested threads. And most of them are done with Madeira thread because that is the gold standard for digitizers, pretty much, is Madeira. It is a recommendation and a suggestion based upon how they have envisioned the project to look when it's finished. They have the shadowing and all of that put into the design, and if you use those colors, then you would get that result, and the design would be pretty the way that they have envisioned it to be. But that does not mean that you have to have pink number 1712. You can't have a pink number 18.2 or whatever. It's got to be 1712 because that's what they use or whatever. It has to be Aztec gold. It can't just be gold of some other brand or what have you. That's not true. What I do, and in my mind is common sense. In my mind, this is what makes sense to me. As long as I match up the colors as close as possible to the original suggested color that was used to do the design, then my design project should come out looking like the one that I purchased, and I'm good. That doesn't mean if they use blue for the color of the baby's onesie in this design, doesn't mean I can't make it a green onesie or a purple onesie or a pink onesie or whatever color onesie. I can put it whatever color I want it to be. You have to understand that. And I am talking to new people because I know those of us that have been doing this for a while, we know that. But there are people out there that honestly still think that they have to use that color and that thread brand and will run out and buy it and won't do it if they can't find it. Instead of going, I have drawers, drawer with S on it, drawers full of thread, various colors, beautiful colors. And when I get a design, the first thing I do when I pull it out to stitch is go through my drawers and look at the color that's on my design page and see what do I have that is close to that color. If I choose to stay in that color um, format. If it's yellow, I'm gonna look at a yellow thread that I have, and I may have 3 or 4 different shades of yellow, and I'll look at it and I say which one looks the best or which one looks the closest or however I decide to do it. Now, once I stitch this out once, then I may, when I stitch it out again, I may change that up. Because I look at it and I say, oh, it would have worked well with gold. I didn't have to have yellow. Or it would have, I could have actually put cream in there. I didn't even have to have yellow or gold. Or maybe this red could have actually been an orange. And then you make it your own. But don't go too far off the rail. because if you do, you can mess up what the end result is going to be. So you do, it is a guideline. I remember actually getting a pattern of design from Sweet Pea. And Sweet Pea is notorious for not giving you a color chart. And I love to have a color chart because I do like to try to follow their vision of whatever design I buy. And Sweet Pea normally does not have a color chart. So I sent them a message and asked about a color chart. And they got back to me and told me they don't do color charts because they want people to use their own imagination. You don't have to make it the color, use the colors that we use, which I already knew. But the reasoning I wanted a color chart from them is because the design that I was doing had so many colors, and it was difficult to figure out what color went where. For me to use my own imagination, I don't know if it's going to be a blue and a black and a dark gray side by side, and you're not going to get the effect that you would have gotten that they have because it was just so much and so crowded with this particular design. So I needed some guidance from it. So I was frustrated. I really was because I'm trying to figure out what color is this and where on my machine? Is it number 1 or number 12 that I need to decide what color it's going to be? And hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say, but it was very frustrating that they didn't have a color chart. So just keep in mind, um, Sweet Pea is very notorious for not having a color chart. So you might want to check the design because I think they listed now those that have color charts and those that don't. Because I was looking at their stuff the other day and it was on there, the ones that have color charts and the ones that don't. And the majority of their designs did not have color charts. Uh, okay, we have Eeyore. Eeyore. Okay, I got it. Winnie the Pooh. I'm not a big Winnie the Pooh person, so I did not know who that person was. I'm sorry, but I do now. Thank you. The donkey. I know who the donkey is. I know the donkey when I see it, but I did not know the donkey's name, Jenny. So that's my bad. I was like, what is that? Okay. And Leslie, you said you took a class at a quilt shop that had a booth at the expo, and you learned a lot about your machine. Uh, um, The tote was no turning back after that. Okay, there you go. And Sharon, when I got my first machine from a sewing center, Baby Lock S Estante, Estante, I guess. I don't know that machine. I realized that it was my design and that opened my mind. That is what the salesperson said, that it wasn't set in stone what color to use. There you go. And that is the most simplest way of putting it. It is not set in stone. And I've had that conversation several times with people that you do not have to fret over the color. You make it whatever color you want to make it. It is your design to design it however you please. And Sharon, yes, I have so much stuff from when I first started because someone said I needed it for things to come out right, and that happens a lot. So beginners, be very careful. Do your own research before you jump up and buy everything that people tell you you need just because someone else uses it. And not to say that you're being misled. It's just that what works for one person may not work for you and may not be necessary for you. You may be able to figure out another way. And there are YouTubers out there that I really like looking at that try to teach you how to use what you have, number one, or use what you already have at home, or use something that you can buy out of a hardware store or something that is less expensive than going to a quilt shop and purchasing, or something that you can literally make yourself, some type of template or something like that that you can make yourself that does the exact same thing as a product that you would purchase and pay 2 or 3 times for it. So just keep that in mind. And the reason that's important is that if they are talking about a notion that's going to help you measure or help you cut or help you lay something out or help you hoop or whatever, if there is a lesser alternative that you could try, it may be worth your while to give that a try versus investing in a much more expensive item that you may not even need. Now, once you try that lesser expensive alternative and it doesn't work the way you want it to work, then it may behoove you to go ahead and make the investment. That's a personal decision, but it is important to just look at all your options because I promise you, you will not need everything somebody tells you that you need. I can get a basket full of stuff I know of things that I purchased that I don't use and I don't need that was recommended and suggested that would make your life easier. And that's not always the truth. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the individual, to be honest about it. Now, one thing is when you were trying your very first project and you were looking to see if it was going to be something that you wanted to continue doing, because you liked the way it turned out, or somebody complimented you on it, or you were able to make something and sell it and stuff like that. So you had your aha moment and everything. Was that thing perfect? Was it perfect? I know we tend to be perfectionists. I think it's our nature as crafters. And the one guilty thing that I think we all have, and I know I am very guilty of it, because I know how something is supposed to look, my critical eye goes straight to something that is incorrect. If I'm off centered a smidget, I can spot it instantly that I'm off centered, and then I'm cranky. Like I didn't center that. And or if you notice a skip stitch or two, then you're dadgummit, this didn't stitch correctly. Little bitty things like that. I put a purse together that was going to be a gift and stitched it. Everything on that was perfect except for one spot where the seams did not meet up. And they were off just a tad, not even a quarter, not even a scant quarter of an inch. The seams didn't match up, and I would not give that gift. I made the whole thing over again. I said, I can't do it. I cannot give this to somebody. Nobody would have noticed it, and they probably wouldn't have cared because I wasn't even selling it. I was giving it to somebody. But I just felt that uh, disappointed. That's my perfectionist. I'm getting a little better, but sometimes we're our worst critics because what we see, no one else would see or know. But I'm always thinking, what are they going to say behind my back if I give them this and it's off less than an eighth of an inch? It's not centered, or the seam didn't quite match up, or there's one little skip stitch that I didn't catch, or even a jump stitch. And those things drive me to drink because I'm always in there digging and digging, trying to get the jump stitch out because I can't stand jump stitch. All of those things that we look at as imperfection and somebody else wouldn't even notice it or care. So we have to be very mindful about it. Um, about not really, stressing out over not being perfect, especially when you're first starting out. Especially when you're first starting out. Newbies, don't be so hard on you because you're not going to get it perfect the first time, second time, third time, maybe even the 10th time. You may not get it perfect. And those of us that have been doing it for a long time now, we still have our mistakes. I still have, within the past 6 months, I would say, stitched something together in the hoop. And I had to cut it out because I couldn't get it loose. Ruined shirt or ruined whatever it was. I was making a graduation sash for my daughter-in-law that I had worked on perfection. Everything was lined up straight, looking good and everything. And I was stitching the last thing on it and realized it had gotten caught underneath and I had to destroy it. And I had to turn around and spend my money to replace it. So that was not a happy day for me. And the thing that really bothers you is you think you checked, because I checked. I just didn't check well enough. So it happens. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. Mistakes happen. Things happen. So there's no such thing as perfection. But we do strive for it all the time. We do strive for it. But the bottom line is to keep going. Don't let imperfection stop you. I know Alexis from, I can't remember her last name, but from So Sweet Academy. She's a brother representative. I think her name is Alexis or Alexi. Alexis, I think is her name. Can't remember her last name. But So Sweet Academy. I think her motto is it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be pretty. And I think that is exactly what is a good thing to remember. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be pretty. So as long as you work on it and do the best that you can, and it is pretty, then you need to be uh, happy about that. Keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the better you get, and your perfection comes natural once you've done it. But then don't get lazy and lax where you start eyeballing everything, taking shortcuts, and those kinds of things. That's when you get lazy and then you start messing up and not your things don't look as professional as they should. Always keep those things in mind. If you need to measure, you measure, you measure. So you make sure it is centered and all of those kinds of things. And then it becomes second nature. Hi, Best Uni. I hadn't seen you in a while. How are you? And let's see who else. Arlene, hi, are you? And Pearl, you were saying about the color, you hardly ever choose to design color because you like to have something different, but I will test it first. Um, I usually try to stay within the design color as much as possible, especially the first time I do it. And Sharon, to me, no, but customers said if I hadn't pointed out, they would never have seen it. And that's something we need to stop doing. Stop pointing out your flaws. Stop pointing out your flaws, especially when they're minute. Stop pointing out that flaw. Because, as she said, if you hadn't told her, she never would have seen it, nor would she have known. People that don't embroider, people that don't sew, people that don't quilt, don't know what things are supposed to be. Those of us that do, we know. We can spot it a mile away. You give somebody that sews, stitch, or embroider something that has something that's not quite right. They're gonna look at it and say, "Oh yeah, this is off. This is that. This is that." But somebody that is a customer that does not do that themselves and don't know how to do it, they're not going to know. Now, I'm not saying give them shoddy work. That's not what I'm saying. I make it as good as you can, but don't sit up there and say, "Oh, I was off a fraction. I'm so sorry." Don't do that. If you decide to give it to them or sell that item to them, keep your mouth shut. If you don't like it, you think it's not good enough, do it again. Don't give it to them. But if you decide to give it to, don't tell them, oh, it's off a little bit, or whatever the issue is as far as you're concerned, because that means you're not happy with it. Don't give somebody something you're not happy with, is what I'm saying. If you're not happy with it, don't give it to them. Do it again until you're happy with it. And Pearl said, I'm guilty of that, but I blame it on working in quality control for years back. Yeah. And if you worked in quality control, I'm pretty sure if something wasn't perfect, it went back in the line. It was not put out there to sell. It went back in the line to correct, or it went into the second pile, what they call seconds, things that aren't perfect, where they can sell it cheaper. That's what they did. So that's what I just said. If you're not happy with it to be right, don't sell it, don't give it to them or whatever. And Cindy said, nope, not perfect. It was fun to make, and I challenged myself to do better. And that's what you do, especially when you're making stuff for yourself. And I also recommend, and this is just me, I know some people don't make anything unless they're selling it or giving it to somebody. They don't make anything for themselves just for the fun of it. I recommend don't do that. Make things for yourself. And if you have a big business and you're busy, you may not have time to do that. You know, if you're like an Angela Jasmine or somebody that's constantly running a machine, or even Jeanette from Baroque Sewing and Craft that's constantly running her machine, you don't have a lot of time to do things for fun or for yourself. But if you're, a little bit more relaxed and not that busy, spend more time making things for yourself, because that's your practice. That is your practice. If you're a sewist, make garments for yourself. If you are a quilter, make some quilts for yourself or your family. If you are an embroiderer, do you a t-shirt, do you a hoodie, do you some pillows, do something, a tote bag, something for yourself. Because the more you do it, the better you get. So when you do decide to sell it or give it to somebody, you're good at it because you've done it over and over and over again. But if you just wait to make something to sell or give to somebody, then you haven't built your skills. You haven't put the practice in. So you're more likely to make mistakes because you're not doing it often. Fire that machine up and make something cute and wear it. Use it. Do something with it. And Quilt for Joy, I sell on Etsy, and those items are never perfect. I can get clothes perfect, but not other things. Yeah. And Cindy, I never sell. I will never have a business. I am done working. I heard that, girl. I don't blame you. Your things are beautiful as well because you sew from your heart. You stitch from your heart, and you can make what you love, and that gives you joy. And that's the perfect thing to do. Make things for yourself and give yourself joy. If you decide to make something to sell or give away for gifts or whatever, then that's icing on the cake. But make sure whatever it is you're doing is for joy. It's like what I had said a few weeks back, that I'm saying it for me personally, only for me. I'm glad that I don't have a big booming busy business. In the very beginning, when I first started embroidery, that was pretty much my thought process because I saw other people doing it, making money and stuff. And in my head, yeah, that's where I want to go. I want me a business. I want all these machines, and I want to do the production. And as I got older, as I got more into my craft, the more I realized I love embroidery. I love the skill of embroidery. I don't want to lose the love for it because I'm so busy working. It doesn't, it no longer is joyful. It's just like going to a 9 to 5. Instead of a 9 to 5, it's a 9 to 9. And I don't want to do that. That's not fun to me. I want to enjoy it. If I make something and it turns out pretty and I'm happy with it, then I'm I'm happy. It's joyful. And let me make something else and see how well that comes out. It came out good. Great. Let me do something else. See how well that came out. It came out not so great. I'll try it again. Next time, maybe I'll do better. That's where I am. That's where I am. And yes, Sherry, and hi, Sherry, how are you? And yes, her name is Alexis Galloway. Alexis Galloway. I couldn't think of her name, but yeah. And Robin says she didn't sell either. And Quilt for Joy, selling on Etsy is fun. Uh, don't have to post items every week. I haven't put anything new on my shop in months because I just haven't felt like it. Yep. You don't feel like it, you don't have to do it. Uh, Leslie, I made a monogram beach towel for a high school graduate. I had the 3 knockdown stitches done at the first letter. When it got to the center letter, it started to stitch in the wrong place, so I stopped it. Yeah, stuff happens. And Robin, I find joy in my sewing room with YouTube on the big screen. Yep. Sharon, that is so true. My mom stopped me from pointing out what I considered to be a flaw. I'm so glad she did that. Uh, And Leslie, you said since it was a mighty hoop, I was saved. Since I took it off the machine, it found its way to the right place. Yeah, it had gotten out of registration, I'm pretty sure. Lesson learned, don't wait until the last minute. That part, that part. I have gotten to the point now, if if I'm rushed, if I'm tired, if I'm stressed, I don't stitch anything, especially if it's for somebody else. Because I am prone to mess it up. I have to definitely be um in the right mood and not stressed and definitely not in a hurry. That way you take your time, you pay attention, and normally you won't have any major issues. And Leslie says, I need to follow Shirley's advice. Cindy said I make quilts for the grandpup sons too. They are spoiled. Yeah. See, those are the things that you enjoy doing. Making stuff for people you love because you want to do it, not because you have to. And Leslie says, I have to make things for myself. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Make things for yourself so it will be fun and you will enjoy it. Now, also came up with some very mm, interesting information that I want to share with you guys, which I thought was kind of cool, and some statistics because I was curious. We were talking about the first thing that we loved and everything. So, um, the first things is what is the most loved beginner machine embroidery project? What is it? And my guy Fred, my AI guy, he did a deep dive search, and this is what he came up with the top 7 things. Number one, believe it or not, and I believe it, most loved beginner machine embroidery projects by ranking. Number one, towels, tea towels, and hand towels. Towels is the number one beloved beginner project. They're useful, giftable, affordable, and easy to personalize. They're small, cute, giftable, often made completely in the hoop. Basically, easy. Number two, mug rugs. Number three, baby items, bibs, birth cloths, blankets, and onesies, because they're emotional, personal, and they're popular gifts. Now, these are things that beginner embroiderers have listed based upon the deep dive search that AI did. Number two are tote bags and canvas bags. 5, key fobs and small in the hoop items. Number 6, any type of hoop art or something that you can frame. And then number 7 is simple applique projects. Now, Kimber Bell current beginner projects list that mug rugs are called fan favorites on her site. So they like mug rugs. So basically, beginners tend to love projects that are flat, affordable, giftable, and forgiving. Therefore, perfection is not needed. That is why towels, mug rugs, baby items, tote bags, and simple in the hoop projects show up over and over and over again for beginning projects for beginners. For me, like I mentioned, I started off doing towels. I didn't do anything but towels until I got comfortable and was able to actually stitch out a full design from beginning to end with multiple thread changes, and it came out correct. The I'm The stabilizer was correct, the color was correct, the embroidery itself was correct, it was hoop correct, it was centered correct, all of those elements. Towels was the first one, once I discovered how to hoop that thing, was the best for me. That was number one as a beginner. Jenny Owen says, that's what I like to make, towels and mug rugs. Quilt for Joy, I love mug rugs and totes. Jenny Owens, I made a towel for my neighbor's birthday. And Robin says she loves to make mug rugs. So people really are into that. Now, I said, what is the least loved beginner machine embroidery project? Now, this does not mean people hate the finished product. It means beginners often dislike the process because the project can be stressful. And does anybody have an idea or a clue what that number one beginner project is for a person beginning to learn how to embroider? If you know, put your suggestion, your thought in the chat, because I want to see how many people are going to get number one correct. Because I pretty much was in agreement with what came up, just based upon my conversation with people. So somebody stick and see what they think it is. Sharon says she loves doing towels and baby items. Sharon says applique. Leslie says hats. Pearl says hooping correctly. And Cindy says she did a sulky sweet pea scissor case in the hoop project at home as a new so long it is still free. I must have made at least 15 of them. That was her favorite project. Jenny Owen says caps. Drum roll. Leslie and Jenny got it correct, and that is caps and hats. You are correct. That is the number one least liked beginner project. Makes sense. A lot of people are fearful of doing hats. Number two is stretchy. Danielle said, what question did I miss? My video jumped back. Well, I had two questions, Danielle. I don't. It's not a quiz or anything. I just asked a question. And the first question was, what is the favorite project of a beginner embroiderer? And that was tiles and various different tiles. And the least loved project is caps and hats. So that's the only thing that you may have missed. Number two is stretchy t-shirts. Fabric stretches, puckers, shifts, and can distort the design, so people don't like it. They don't like hats because of the curved surface, hooping. They have hooping issues, and I think that's the number one because people don't know how to hoop a cap, and placement problems. I might do a cap demo again. I've done one before, but I might do another one. Stretchy t-shirts, because of fabric stresses and what have you. Number three is thin onesies. The small opening in the fabric stretches is hard to center. Number four is heavy jackets and thick items. Number five, large multi-hoop designs. A lot of people are afraid of the uh, multi-needle machine in general. They freak out when they see all this stuff, and they just freak out. I got a single needle, one thing to thread, and I don't have to worry about it. But when they start saying 10 and 12 and 15 and 16 and 20 needles, they just simply freak out and say, oh, I can't do that, because they think it's complicated. And it really is. To be honest, but it really is. Number six is dense designs and cheap blanks. Yeah, if you don't have good blanks, then it's going to be difficult to come out with a good design. And number seven is slippery or plush fabrics. For me, the slippery fabric is more of a challenge than a plush fabric, because if you use your topper, your water-soluble topper, you usually can overcome the issue with fabric, plush. And they're talking about satin, velvet, fleece, and especially if you don't use a top. And that's because of the movement and the sinking stitches and stabilizer confusion. I've sewn on satin. I've never sewn on velvet yet. So, but I don't expect to have an issue if I ever do. Um, but I don't know because I've never done it. Caps are frequently described as the trickier thing to stitch on than flat items because of the curved front, the seams in the middle, the various fabric, the hooping, and even digitizing needs because they may not have the right design on it. Stretchy t-shirts are another common beginner struggle because of the knit fabric and stretches. They don't know how to stabilize it, and therefore the embroidery stitches don't stitch right. And if they don't stabilize it correctly, you can also have puckering challenges. So the least loved beginner projects are usually not ugly projects. They are projects that fight back, like hats, stretchy shirts, onesies, jackets, and multi-hoop designs, and it can make a beginner feel like the machine has a personal problem with them because it ain't acting right. It is having fun. So to summarize, the difficulty of a tile um, is considered very easy. Difficulty of cotton fabric and test stitch out, easy. Mug rub, very easy. Mug rub, easy. Canvas tote, easy. Hoop art, easy. And simple applique is easy to moderate. Now I have to tell you, for me, applique was something that I had no clue, and the reason being is because my very first applique design I purchased did not come with any kind of instruction, and I had never done an applique before, and I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know. I just didn't know what to do. Bottom line, so I couldn't do it, and I freaked out. And I instantly got um, intimidated by appliques, and now I can do an applique in my sleep. But and I took an applique lesson from Eve, the baby's booty, and after I did that, been smooth sailing ever since. And Leslie says, to this day, you have still never done a hat or a cap, and we're gonna have to do that, young lady. We're gonna do that. And Quill for Joy, you are intimidated by the multi-needle machine. Don't be. I promise you, it is easier than you think it is. Don't be intimidated. You can do it. You can do it. Um, so, because you know what and some of you have already answered this about what beginner project gave you the first real confidence, which one was it, and which one almost made you quit. I will answer that question for myself. The one that gave me the most confidence in stitching, I would have to say, actually, the towel. It wasn't baby items or shirts or even mug rubs, and it wasn't tote bags because towels were the first one I did, and that's where I got my confidence. Which one almost made me quit? Hooping. It was just hooping. None of the projects made me quit, not even a hat. I didn't struggle with a hat. I have to tell you that when I got I did not do a hat on my single needle machine. Now that part, I will have to admit I couldn't figure it out. I bought the hat hoop, couldn't figure out how to use it, put it aside, never tried to use it again on my single needle machine. However, on my um, multi needle machine, which I purchased the same year that I bought I think I had my single needle machine, my SE 1900, 3 or 4 months before I bought my multi needle machine. I moved up that quickly because I always wanted bigger. And I realized bigger was going to make me happy and not changing all those threads. I was going to be happy. So moving up. And I love the embroidery enough to want to invest the money in the machine. So when my machine arrived, the very same day I got my multi-needle machine, I stitched my first hat with no problem. I hooped it and stitched it alone at home on my own with no problem. And the reason I was able to do it was I had looked at multiple videos before the machine came. So I already knew how to set my machine up. I already knew how to thread my machine. I already knew how to put the hoop hat on, and I knew how to stitch it because from the time it took my machine to get to me, which was like, I would say a couple of weeks or maybe 2 to 3 weeks max, I had figured out how to do the hat. When it got there, that was the first thing I stitched on my machine was a hat. And I'm not going to brag and say I was perfect because the second big thing that I stitched on my machine was a jacket back. Yes, I was very ambitious. And I messed it up, not at my own doing because I was less than 30 minutes done with this big design. And all of a sudden, I got an error message saying my hoop was too small. Hoop is too small. And I'm like, how in the world can my hoop be too small? And I have practically finished. And I started off with mighty hoops because when I bought my machine, I bought the mighty hooping station and all of that at one time. I bought it. I wanted it. I bought it. Had my 8x13 hoop, the whole 9 yards. That's what I wanted because I had done my research. And I did not know at the time how to resolve that problem. So I made the mistake of taking it off the hoop and unhooping it. And I did not know how to put it back in place, which I could have had I known what I know now. I shouldn't have unhooped it, but I actually took it out of the hoop, dummy. The only thing I needed to have done was tighten the arm. The, Flip the screws on the machine had loosened. And if I had just tightened them back, everything would have been perfect. And I would have had my butterfly on the back of my jacket. And I would have been a happy camper. That was my biggest regret of all of the designs and experiences that I had with my mighty hoop, with my 10 needle machine, was that particular jacket, because I had yet to find a jacket color, that same color. And it was practically perfect, and it was a beautiful design that I had done, and it was almost done with it. And that error message came up, and I did not know what to do. And I didn't know to call somebody and ask them. And I wasn't patient enough, I guess, because I could have left it on the machine, called my dealer the next day or whenever, and told them what had happened and asked them what to do. And I'm sure that she would have said, well, tighten your arm, girl. And then it would have gone back to working. But I didn't do that. I did not do that. And that makes me so mad, just the thought of that I messed up that jacket because I didn't know what I was doing. But that's how you learn. Hi Faker, how you doing? Thank you for stopping in. Uh, and Robin says she has not done a hat either, so we're gonna have to get you guys to do a hat. Uh, Leslie, do a t-shirt quilt, and I would do a cap first. Okay, if you say so. Well, you're the one that hasn't done a hat, not me. So if you don't ever want to learn how to do a hat, that's all on you, sweetheart. We ain't gonna have this challenge because I'm still not gonna do the t-shirt. This is a running joke of ours. I'm not doing a t-shirt. Um, yes, Faker. Thank you so much. Don't forget to put thumbs up. Appreciate it. It is so much needed and so helpful to the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment is important, and the notification bell. I do appreciate it. Uh, Hi, Linda's Trendy Threads. How you doing? Thank you for stopping by as well. Thank you. Okay. So let's see. All right, I have another set of statistics. This one is beginner embroidery, sewing, and quilting question. Number one, average age. What is the average age of new embroiderers, sewers, and quilters? Break it down. Average age of people when they start embroidering. What is the average age of people when they start sewing? What is the average age of people when they start quilting? That was the question that I asked AI. And AI got back with me and he said the quilting question was the easiest one for him to get data on. He said there's actual survey data out there available for that particular question. And the answer to that is the typical quilter is usually reported to be female, retired, and Leslie says 50, but the answer is in their 60s. That's the average age. And so we're getting people 50, 45, 40, 52, 40. Oh, yeah, okay. So 25. All righty. The average age for a person that is beginning their quilting, 25 is a bit young for quilting. But I got 50, I got 40, I got 45, I got 52, and I got 25. Anybody else? Anybody else? I think I already let the cat out the bag. It is female, retired, and in their 60s. A 2026 quilting survey summary says the typical quilter is over 60, with the average age being 67, and tends to enter quilting seriously in the mid to late 40s. This is the earlier survey reported, and um, it also says the average quilter began quilting. An earlier survey reporter also says that the average quilter began quilting regularly around age 48. Interesting. So, in essence, quilting still trends with older people more so than sewing and embroidery. Now, Robin, you say you started quilting at 17. So that's not the average, but that's commendable. It is. So basically, what they're saying, the average dedicated quilter is often described as being in her 60s. So it's usually women. Not saying there aren't men, but it's mostly women. But they may start seriously quilting anywhere in their 40s and 50s. So everybody was pretty much on the mark with their answers for as quilters. Now, you can guess this one. I'm not going to let the cat out the bag. We're talking about sewers or sewers. What is the average age for people to start sewing? Y'all ain't going to get this one. And Leslie said embroidery and quilting are expensive. That is true. But keep in mind, Leslie, I did some quilting when I was a kid. It just depend upon how decorative or if you're doing quilting for a hobby. When I did quilting as a kid, we did it out of necessity, but we did do quilting. I act in hand quilting is what I did. We made our own quilts at home. So a lot of people do start quilting early. So Robin says sewing 35, Jenny says 16, Kingsbury Craft says 12, and Cindy, you're saying 16. And Thaker said I started embroidering sewing during COVID. A lot of people did do that when I started embroidering. Um, I knew people weren't going to get that. And Pearl said I started sewing in high school. Leslie, 16 to 18, high school age, home economics. Yes. I did that as well, Leslie. However, I started in middle school. So I'm closer to what Kingsbury said on the 12-year-old um, uh, realm right there, because it was home economics, and it started in the 7th grade, whatever age I was in the 7th grade. I believe I had to be 12, going on 13 probably. 12 was the first time that I ever sewed on a sewing machine in home economics. So we went all the way from middle school through high school with sewing. And quilt for joy, I think women start sewing when they have children. So I say 25. And Faker, we didn't have home economics in school. A lot of people didn't, I heard. And hi, Sean, how are you? Good you stopped in. So, according to the answer that I got, my AI Fred says sewing is harder because the audience is broader. Basically, what he's saying, finding statistics on sewing is harder because the audience is broader. You look at garment sewing, quilting, mending, cosplay, bags, home decor, and hobby. They're such a big mix in sewing, so it's hard to break it down. But the estimate puts the U.S. sewing audience average age around 42.5, with it being about 75.8% female. So it's not gospel rather, but that's what he was able to find. So basically, sewing appears to skew younger than quilting overall, partly because garment sewing, cosplay, upcycling, TikTok sewing, and all of that are considered beginner sewing and have brought in younger markets. And as you guys have stated, and I'm in agreement, oftentimes we in our age category, because you know they took home economics out of the school at some point, in our age category, it was much younger. It was anywhere from, I would say, 12 to 15 because a lot of people was taking home economics and they started sewing. And Quilt for Joy, I'm like you, what, 42.5? Really? But then I look at my daughter and she never did sewing. She didn't do sewing in school. Although my son, that is younger than her, he did home economics and wood shop because back when he was in school, they did both. When I was in school, boys took wood shop and girls took home economics. When he was in school, they did them both, home economics and wood shop, boys and girls. So he did sewing in high school. My daughter didn't do sewing in high school, so she did no sewing at all. So I do agree that there are a lot of people that started sewing at a much younger age, but they're looking at the overall statistic based upon the data that he could find, and it wound up being 42.5 age. I was a little surprised as well. And to me, I know someone said 25 because people tend to start sewing when they have children. I think we're moving more towards people start sewing when they become grandparents. I think that's when it picks up. That's why the age is so much older. And Leslie said, my son did home economics as well. So, um, I asked about new machine embroiderers because we did quilting, we did sewing. Now he's looking at embroiderers. He could not, and I'm talking about Fred, my AI. He could not find a reliable formal survey given the average age of new machine embroiderers specifically, but he did come up with a safe estimate. And his estimate on the research that he did was likely a range of what age? What age do you think? He gave me a range of the age of brand new embroiderers. What do you think that is? And Pearl said AI probably looking at the new generations. Well, he's looking at the data because that's what they do. Whatever data is out there for him to crunch is what he comes up with. And if there's no data, and that's why he was saying it was harder to find um, a specific survey. Fred said he can't go back that far. If the data is out there and available, which they don't put out there that far back, you're probably right. Don't go all the way back to home economics day. They probably didn't have no data back then to for him to go back and grab. So I agree with that. So now we're talking about the average age for embroidering. Brand new embroiderers. Robin says 25 to 50. Quilper Joy says 25. Jenny Owen says 35 to 55. And Leslie said brand new embroiderers 55. Quilper Joy 25 to 40. Cindy 48 to 58. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. According to Fred, the range is likely between 35 to 65, with a very strong beginning group in the 45 to 65 range. So anybody that said 35 or older is pretty accurate as far as beginning embroidery. So we got, let me see, somebody, Jenny Owens, you were the closest with the 35 to 6 to 55. Then we got 45 to 65. Yep. So everybody was pretty close. The one that was younger than 35, a few of you all said younger than 35. I don't really see a lot of people that's younger than 30, 35 embroidering, but you can't really tell the age of some people that you see on YouTube, even though I know they're young. But when you start, looking at them or talking to them or hear them talk, you realize they're not as young as they look. They may look like they're in their 20s when they're in their 30s, or they may look like they're in their 30s and they're in their 40s, and so forth and so on. So it's kind of hard to tell. The youngest person that I know is young that's on YouTube a lot is Angela Jasmina, because she started in her 20s because she's still in her early 30s right now. So she started, and she didn't start off embroidering. She started off doing tutus, and then it progressed on up to what she's doing now. So that is that. So what he says is that it says based upon the way the market overlaps with sewing, quilting, and personalization in small home businesses, new machine embroiderers seem to come from a wide age range, which is true. Younger makers are coming in, but many beginners are women in midlife and beyond. So that's his analysis on his deep dive research that he did. So on top of that, because like I said, I'm talking about a lot of beginners, and just to give them a feel of what our crafting world is like, I also asked the question, what is the average cost of a first time embroiderer's machine? Cost of a beginner's first embroidery machine. What is the average price? Anybody can guess that? It's a range. The average cost of a beginner's first embroidery machine. And we're talking about a true beginner home embroidery machine. What do you think the average cost of what people pay for their first machine? I know what I paid for my first machine. So what do you guys think? Okay, we got $800, $1,200, 5 to 7, 2,000, We know what machines cost. 18 to 2500. Quill for Joy 1 to 2000. Jenny Owens says 500. Robin 5 to 1000. Okay. The average cost that he found, the realistic entry range is about $400 to $1,200. So basically, what they're saying is with the average, and Arlene, you said 350 to 800. To be honest about it, you hit the nail. Mostly, well, actually, the 400 to 1,200 is the range. But he did say that he did find one bit of statistic where brother said that they had a machine for 380 up to 989.99. So anywhere from 380 to what is it, 990 is what brother said their range is. But what he said he found that the average price was $400 to $1,200. Now the practical beginner price ranges the machine, an entry level embroidery only machine. Typical cost range is $400 to $700 and is basically good for learning basics. That is how it is explained in the narrative that he found. Sewing and embroidery combo machine range from $700 to $1,200. Most common first serious machine. And I fell in both ranges because the 4x4 machine that I bought, I think, was around the $400 range, which was, I'm pretty sure, overpriced because it came off of HSN. And the one that I actually ended up buying and keeping, I paid $1,000 for it. So, and it is a combo, so it falls into that $700 to $1,200 range. Larger hoop home machines, and that would be larger than a 5x7, I would say. That average cost is $1,200 to $3,000. Better room, bigger investment. There are used machines that he even looked at, and it can be a smart buy if it's in good condition, and that ranges from $250 to $800. But then he jumps all the way up to multi-needle machines for beginner jumpers, beginner embroiderers, but most of them do not jump up that high unless you me. And usually it is not a beginner's first machine, even though it wasn't my first machine. Um, but I jumped quick. And that ranges from 5,000 to 15,000. And I have to be honest, when I made the decision to go from a single needle 5x7 embroidery sewing and embroidery machine, my price range budget was $5,000. Dummy me, and I was thinking about a four uh needle machine. That's my head. Hadn't done my research. That's what I wanted to pay. I did not know what machines cost until I started looking. And the first machine that I saw that almost gave me a heart attack wasn't even a multi-needle machine. It was the Brother Stellaire. I went into a sewing back dealership, Brother dealership, which is actually the company that I bought my multi-needle machine from eventually. And I saw the Stellaire, and they had samples of the Stellaire's work. And I saw the big, beautiful hoop and how large the design, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And I fell in love with it. And when I looked at the price tag, I almost fainted. That thing was $8,000, and I was in shock. Literally in shock. That was my eye opener and my first time I realized how expensive this hobby I was getting my behind into was. I had no idea. Then I found another dealership, and I forgot what company it was, but they had a lot of surgery machines. And I saw the surgery machine in there was $5,000. And I was like, you have got to be kidding, because I my first sewing machine couldn't have been over 100 and some dollars. I'm thinking four, five, six, seven, $800, thousand at the max, which is what I paid. You get some a little fancy, maybe two. I had no idea. I had absolutely no clue. Did not know machines cost that kind of money. And this was in 2020. This was in 2020 when I first started, and I first started looking around, and I first realized how expensive embroidery machines, surgery machine, and even sewing machines were. And it was sticker shock to me. It really was. It took me out. But I got over it. I accepted it. I loved the crafting of it. I enjoyed embroidering, so I went along with the program, and I did make my multi-needle investment. And Fred says that the average cost is between 5,000 and 15,000, which is exactly true at that time. Although we know now multi-needle machines can be very much more expensive than that. But you can get a nice multi-needle machine less than that as well, so keep that in mind. So prices have changed quite a bit, quite a bit. I also wanted to know what was the most profitable embroidery niche out there. And Leslie said my aunt sold, and Singer was the top brand then, and the most expensive machine then was $1,000. Yeah, yeah, $1,000 machine to me back in the day was like buying a Luminaire now, even though it didn't have those bells and whistles. But the price tag, $1,000 machine compared to $100 machine, it's like buying a Luminaire or Avenir or Radiance or Continental, all that kind of stuff. It was huge. But the average, well, the most profitable embroidery niche, and I'm just gonna go over this. Pearl said we all got anywhere from $30,000 up of machines and equipment in one. Ooh, girl. Yes, ma'am. You're right. Basically, what she's saying, if we look at our machines that we own, we on the average could possibly have over $30,000 worth of equipment. And some of us have more, some of us have less, but some of us definitely have more. So we have invested some pretty pennies in what we do. And that's just our machines. That is not our materials and stuff that go with the machine. And Cindy said, and then you sold all the face masks right off the bat. Then that was a great time. Yes, it was. It worked out. It worked out. But I didn't pay for my machine with that mask. I did not pay for my machine. My machine cost a little bit more money than what I was making on the mask, even at $20 a pop. It definitely paid off my SE 1900 and put some money in my pocket towards my multi-needle machine, but it did not pay off the multi-needle machine because I didn't sell like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of mass. I did pretty doggone good though, but it didn't pay off my machine. But yeah, it was a nice chunk towards it though, be honest about it. And that's probably why I went on and made that investment because the money was coming in and then the competition grew. That's what happened. The competition grew. More and more people were making masks, and then masks started becoming mass produced, and people were, because at one time the masks were in deep demand. You couldn't find masks, so that's when people started making masks, and then the demand was there, and finally they started making masks, lesser quality masks, but they were cheaper. You could go to the hair store where you buy your wigs and all that kind of stuff and go in there and you could buy a cute little rhinestone mask or whatever, and you paid three for $10 or something like that. And they was putting people out of business, even though they weren't realizing those masks weren't doing the doggone thing for you to keep you from getting COVID. But my mask, the pattern that I had and the design that I had, that I was told when I bought the design and the instruction, that it was set up to be as close as possible to an ND95, because I had a lot of padding in mind and stabilizer and stuff. It wasn't just cloth. You had your cloth on one side, cloth on the inside, and then I had other stuff inside of the mask that was supposed to help keep the the virus out. So it wasn't just a mask. It was supposed to be something that would definitely give you some protection. And that was one of the reasons why I was able to sell it for what I did, because it wasn't just fabric. You got more than that. But what I was saying, the niche, number one niche is business logos and uniforms. Repeat orders give you higher perceived value. So that's the top niche that he found. Number two is school spirit wear, like cheer gear and stuff, team gear, seasonal demand, group orders, all of that. The third thing is hats and caps, what people don't like doing, but it's a lot of work. The demand is high, but the scale is harder. And Creative Notion says filters, yes. And it wasn't, and I don't know exactly what kind of filters you're referring to, but I did have a filter in there, but there was lining on both sides, there was stabilizer on both sides, and I had the filter in there. So it was definitely designed to work as a ND95. And then the first ones I had were you tie on. A lot of people didn't like to tie on. And so then they start wanting to do the elastic. Then they start wanting to do just around the ears and stuff like that. So I did different styles to meet the demand, but the way I put it together always stayed the same, because I started off making it for myself, and I wanted to make sure I was protected. So that's why I found the way to do it where it was going to help me. And then that's the way I did it for the ones that I sold. Number four is baby gifts, so that's pretty good. Number five, monogram tiles and home gifts. And it's interesting to have this list, because it helps you decide what do you want to get into, especially if you have an Etsy shop or something. Number six is tote bags, cosmetic bags, and pouches. Number seven, which I was a little surprised, was pet items. I thought they would be up a little higher. And the number eight niche is wedding and bridal party gifts, which I understand because they are very seasonal, but they do sell. So, but business logos, of course, because you got lots of business and everybody wants a logo. So I actually have an order that I got to get done by next week for logos. So, that you can get that. You can definitely get that. And what he said, the most profitable embroidery niche usually is not the cutest project. It is usually the one with the repeat customers, which happen to be business logos, uniforms, school gears, and things like that, organizational apparel. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about getting into that business. Um, and Sean, you are saying, and if you have not thought about it, make sure you have all of them insured via homeowners or business insurance. Definitely, definitely. Because I think about that. Trust and believe me, something happens. Yeah. Because we have invested money into our machines. You look around your office, and even the stuff that you can see, all my junk I got in here, it still isn't every machine I own because you can't see every machine. And stuff under tables and behind doors and so forth and so on. Yeah, it ain't cheap. It's a lot of money that we have invested into our stuff. And I got very curious, and this is the last question that I asked the AI, and this is interesting. I wanted to know how many active embroidery, sewing, and quilting YouTube channels are out there, because there's a lot, as we know. There's a lot. Now, the answer is going to surprise you. And according to Fred, there is no public reliable total. I was stunned. YouTube does not publish a clean list of all active embroidery, sewing, and quilting channels, so it was difficult for him to find information. They don't provide it. It's not in their metadata. So he had to dive deep with other places. So what he found on a particular list called FeedSpot, they curated a current list, and what he came up with surprised me. And for sewing, he came up with approximately 90 sewing YouTube channels. For quilting, came up with 100 quilting YouTube channels. And the one that surprised me the most was embroidery. Only 25 embroidery YouTube channels. But he said those are curated lists and not the total number of active channels on the list, because it probably didn't look at little bitty ones and stuff like that. And so there is no real list. He pretty much says that there over 200 channels across the category put together. It's about 200 channels. So I was a little surprised to see that, to be honest, but I could have bet the bank on more. I knew it was a lot. At least I felt like it was a lot. And when I say 200 sounds like a lot, but not based upon how many channels out there on YouTube. It's a zillion million channels on YouTube. But out of all these hundreds of thousands, and I'm pretty sure I think I read somewhere where it was so many multi-million people on YouTube. There's only 200 in those three crafting categories. That surprised me. So I did ask to rank by subscribers. So he couldn't get every channel, but he did give me 11 channels by subscribers. And these are just, well, it's for sewing, quilting, and embroidery. And I think some of these are combined. And Cindy said many have crafting in their channel names. And Robin said, I thought the numbers would be higher. I certainly did, Robin. The number one rank based upon subscriber that he was able to find, drum roll, was mine. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. Oh my, I wish. Anyway, Missouri Star. Missouri Star was the number one rank channel, main category being quilting, approximate approximate subscriber is 1 million. So Missouri Star is very busy. The number 2 is also very interesting. And Arlene says that it is hard to believe. I agree. And Jenny Owen said that's very interesting. I agree. The number 2 channel, and this one is also main category is quilting, is Jordan's Fabric. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where the original person that had the channel passed away last year, I believe. And I know her channel is still active, and if I'm not mistaken, her husband has taken over. I haven't watched it, but I see it pop up, and I've seen that. Hers is 741,000, so she was very busy. Now I'm gonna give you one that was a surprise to me. Number 3, highest ranking based upon subscriber according to AI at this moment, with the data that he could find, is the Crafty Gemini. Isn't that interesting? The Crafting Gemini. And she's sewing, quilting, and crafting. Does she not do embroidery? I don't watch her that much, so I'm not sure. And Robin, you said yes, but her husband and son run it. Yes, I knew it was the husband. And Sean says she did, and her husband has been putting on more content. Yes, I noticed that. Okay, good. And Quill for Joy, I would have guessed the Fat Quarter Shop. Okay. You would have thought that was the highest ranking? Okay. But I did not think that Craft and Gemini, and she's at 704,000. Number 4 is So Very Easy. Sewing and quilting with 513,000, and I am not familiar with that one. So Very Easy. Number 5 is Just Get It Done Quilts, and that's quilting, and she has 497,000, and I do watch her, and she does have a lot of videos too, and I do watch her. And Quill for Joy, you said you thought it would have been the Fat Quarters. Fat Quarter Shop is actually number 6. Number 6 is Quilting and Sewing, the Fat Quarter Shop, and they have 427,000 subscribers. Number 7, and Jenny Owen said that's great for Crafty Gemini. Yes, I thought I was pleasantly surprised because at least there's somebody that I kind of think I know a little bit. And Sean said, "Love, just get it done." I do too. I watch her a lot. She pops up a lot, and you know me, I find myself watching her, and I have to ask myself, why am I looking at this quilting show? I need to be looking at some embroidery. I'm not a quilt, but she pops up, and I watch. Anyway, number 7 is the sewing channel, sewing and quilting hacks, and this one is 216,000. Number 8 is Angela Walters, and I think I've heard that name. And for those of you that don't know her, her main category is listed as free motion quilting. So if you're into free motion quilting and you're not familiar with her, check her out because that's supposed to be her main category. Don't know if she's good or not, but she's at 198,000, so she must be doing something right. Number 9, which kind of surprised me a little bit, is Racoma TV. Now, I know Racoma has a lot of videos out there. I don't particularly watch Racoma. I don't have a Racoma machine. You don't have to have a Racoma machine to watch it, but I don't particularly watch them. And it says machine embroidery is their main category and business, and they have approximately 119 to 120,000. And nope, 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 that's not wrong. They have 196,000. 196,000. That's Racoma. Number 10 is Pat Sloan. I've not heard of Pat Sloan, I don't think. That name does not ring a bell, and she is quilting. And that is the one that's 119 to 120,000. Then we go all the way down, number 11, and I don't know why he threw this one in there. I guess that was the next highest. And this is OESD, which, they bought Dime. So, or merged with Dime or something along that line. OESD. And I know it's Oklahoma Embroidery and Sewing Design, I think is what OESD stands for. I know it's Oklahoma Embroidery, so I'm thinking the SD is Sewing Design. But Machine Embroidery Design, and they only have 25,000. So you know what? Well, yeah. We watch other people, but they fall into crafting because I know Baby Booties has like 60,000, but she doesn't even do embroidery anymore. She doesn't do quilting, so she wouldn't fall in it. Katrina is crafting. She does everything. Sewing with Delonda, I think she's got over 200,000 people. Patrice has over 100,000 people. I mean, we know people that have big numbers. And Sean, I don't remember how many you have, but I know all things Sean, if I'm not mistaken, she has at least 20,000. Um, and I know Jeanette and Nancy, Jeanette um, Baroka Sewing and Craft. I think she's got, last time I looked, she probably had like 15, 16,000. And Nancy, I think she has a little bit more. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Her sister, HQ Gifts or something. And what about Power Tools with Thread? Power Tools with Thread, Becky has a ton of subscribers, and I think she's around the 40,000. I might be wrong. And you probably say, well, how or why do you know that? Because I look. I do. I look at people and I see how many subscribers I have. I just kind of look. And Quilt for Joy said Pat Sloan and Lori Holt are fabric and pattern designers. Okay. Now, but they do embroidery and quilting. I'm assuming that's why they put Pat Sloan on there. But she's got 119,000. But the only reason I brought up the other ladies that I just mentioned, they went to OESD down to 25,000. And I do know that there are crafters that we are familiar with that have way more than that because, but then they do embroidery, but they do other things. So that's probably what he was looking at, that he does other things. And Sean says she is so excited, and so am I for you, that you are getting close to 10,000. So that's great. Anybody that has not subscribed to Go Savvy Designs by Sean, please subscribe to help her get her 10,000. That's very important. Subscribe to me as well. I'm trying to get to 5. So there are goals. And Jenny Olian says Becky has 88.1 thousand. Becky Thompson. Yeah, I thought she had 40 something, but she's at 80, so she's moving on up the line. So um that's good for her. The and she's quilting and embroidery, so I don't even know why he didn't pick her up. That Power Tools with Thread. She's quilting and embroidery. She doesn't do any other crafting. Now I could see where Katrina didn't get on there. I could see why Delonda and Patrice and some of the other ones, maybe Marilyn, and I don't remember the name of their shows. I just remember who they are. They're up there in numbers. And then who did I just thought about somebody then. Oh, Angela Jasmina. She doesn't do anything but embroidery. But I don't know if maybe they looking at whether or not they do to maybe AI. is looking at, I don't know what the criteria is because I know Angela Jasmina is 200,000 plus, if I'm not mistaken. A-Dub does embroidery, but he does DTF and all that other stuff, so that probably knocked him out because he's over 100,000. So we know people. And then Sean said, which AI did I use? Chat GPT. Chat GPT is the one that I use. And I got to go back and ask him tomorrow, what did you look at and what were your criteria, Mr. Fred? Because you missed a whole bunch of people on this list. Because you dropped down from 120,000 all the way down to 25,000, which kind of surprised me. And you left out a whole bunch of people that we know for sure that's up there in the numbers that does embroidery. But maybe because they do other things, because like Quill for Joy, you said A-Dub. I just said A-Dub. A-Dub does DFTs as well, and that may have knocked him out, just like Katrina does what did I say, AFT? DTF. Lord, I'm talking too fast. He does DTFs, he does embroidery. I don't know what else he does besides those two things. I know Katrina does a whole bunch of stuff. She does everything under the sun, So she's got X2s and DTFs and sublimation and this, that, and the other, and all that kind of stuff. So that may knock her out. I don't know. So, um, so Sean says, so okay, so they need to have it in their description, and a lot of people have not updated the main description. Okay, that could very well be true. That could very well be true. And Arlene said, I think he's just confused. But like A-Dub, that's just the name of uh his site, I guess. I don't even know what A-Dub's name of his site is. I just know he's A-Dub, and I'm subscribed to him, and he comes up on my thing. So, I don't know what his name is, so that could knock you out. And Carol, you said Angela Jasmina has 289,000, so she's close to three. So yes, I knew she had well over 200,000. Uh, and Sean, you say like SEO, there is AEO. Now, I don't know what AEO, I barely know what SEO is, but I don't know what AEO is. Can you tell us what those two terms mean for the audience, if you don't mind, Sean? I know I can't ever remember what the acronym SEO is specifically, but I know what it means, that what you have to do. AEO, I don't think I've heard that before. So you can just give a brief description, that would be great. But what you said about the main channel description is very important, which is all of us that have channels that are trying to grow. And I don't see Miss Joy on here tonight. I don't know if she's on in the background, just didn't come on or not. I don't know. I know she's relatively new and trying to grow as well. That's something for us to keep in mind, that we have to be better at our description and even our names in order to get people to watch us. Okay, so Sean has put that information up here. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It helps the search engine find us. If you put the right words in, the right phrases, all of that, that helps the engine find you and pushes you up. So hi, Miss Joy, how are you doing? I just mentioned your name. You probably was watching, hadn't come in. and AEO, answer engine optimization, I don't know what that means, are two distinct but complementary digital strategies designed to make your content visible online. What are we answering with the AE? What are we answering? Search engine, I pretty much understand. The engine needs to be able to pull out your name, like embroidery, like sewing, like quilting. If you want to be in that list, that needs to be in your engine somewhere so it can find it and pull it out and put it in the right category so you can be found. But I don't know what answer, how that works. That's a new thing to me. But it's important to know for those of us that do have channels, because that is, and I am horrible at it. I am horrible at it. But that is how we're found. And that's very important. Okay, good answer. Sean says SEO gets your website or your channel found. AEO gets your content quoted. Okay, so SEO will tell a person what your website or your channel is about. I'm assuming, if I'm understanding that correct. If I'm an embroiderer, I need to have embroiderer in my content some kind of way where they can pull it out and find and say that Shirley's Threadwork does embroidery. If I make embroidered items, then that needs to be in there so they can find that. Now, keep in mind, Sean does this stuff for a living. She's our technical geek person on online right now. She does this for a living. AEO then fine-tunes your content so that AI crawlers can easily digest it, which means easily find it. And Sean said how I described it was correct. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. So, uh, and Linda's trendy threads, loving this information about helping to find your channel. Yes, 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 yes. It's when you hear people like me continuously asking you to like, subscribe, notification bell, and comment. Comments are important. There are elements of um, the algorithms that look for the crawlers, the crawlers that are out here looking for stuff. And they pick up on words, they pick up on stats, they pick up on things. Shirley got 100 people watching her, she got 100 likes, and she got 50 comments. They pick up on that. People are interested in her. Then they'll take it and push it. They ain't gonna push it way high because my number's not that high, but they'll push it up a little bit. The bigger my numbers get, the higher they push me up. When they push me up means where people can find me. And the more people find me, the more they push it up so more people can find me. On and on and on. That's the process. And that's how people channels grow. The more people find you, the more exposure you get so more people can find you. I think that's correct too. I think. And that's kind of how it works. So it's important if you are watching anybody, me, Sean, Miss Joy, anybody else that's on here that has a channel that I may not be aware of, because I would shout anybody out if you have a channel. But when we ask you for your help, that's why we're asking you for your help, because the algorithm looks for the information to help us grow. And that's how we grow. And the as Sean just said, think of AE as your elevator pitch. That's your first 2-second statement that you're going to say to a potential buyer. When I was a pharmaceutical rep, that was one of the things that we had to learn and role play and all of that. Your elevator pitch. You only have 10 seconds with this doctor. How are you going to sell your product? You can't go through a whole presentation that you would if you had a luncheon and a sit down. You got to come up with right now, what are you going to say that's going to get their attention, and what are you going to say to get them to buy your product? That's what she's saying. That's your elevator pitch. You get in there, say what you got to say, and come on out and convince them that you need that product. And you got to mention your product. You don't mention your product, you can give the best presentation. And if you don't mention your product and ask for the business, that's the other thing. You got to mention the product and ask for the business, then you just wasted your time. You just wasted your time because you didn't, that's not a good elevator pitch. So, and that's what she says, think of AEO as. That's pretty good. And Miss Joy says she is so much still trying to find her niche. She loves quilting and embroidery with my quilt, but I also do other crafts. And Cindy says, I hope it is profitable as I see work, work, work with a smile on your face. I sold real estate. I think that has to be easier. No, I've never sold real estate. I wanted to, but I didn't like the fact that you didn't have no way of guaranteeing you were gonna make some money. Because if you don't sell that house, you don't get that commission. And I was like, that ain't gonna work for me. I spent all my time and energy showing people houses and stuff, and you don't buy. I don't know, that ain't working for me. Mm-mm. But anyway, I love real estate as well. But any business is work. Any business is work. Nothing is easy. As we that have decided to be content creators and we get online and we talk to people and we try to present something of interest to people and hold your attention, teach you something, provide you a valuable product. It's not something that comes easy. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort on our part to try to put that out there. And it's especially if you do it every day, if you do it every week, every month, however often you do it. And that's why I do appreciate the people that I watch. And that's why I do shout out people that I know that's trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, because I know it's hard. And it's enough room for all of us. As we learn, it's not that many people out there like we were competing against. It looks like you're competing against a zillion. Now, there's a whole bunch of other companies that we know there's a lot of competition out there. It's a bunch of people doing the same thing we do. Why the AI didn't pick it up, it is just like Sean said, it's the way that they have their things listed and everything, and it's not easy to be picked up in order to go into the count, because the numbers that I'm reading does not sound real. 200 people is way more than 200 people on YouTube that does sewing and quilting and embroidery. I know that, but they don't get picked up. But anyway, that is the information I have to share with you guys tonight. I do appreciate you guys for watching and sticking with me and participating and joining in and answering questions. I hope you got something useful out of it. I hope you learned something. I know I have. And I try to make sure that you get a little something every time you come by. So I do appreciate it. So with that, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. And Sean said, I wonder if I made the list. Well, I don't know who and how this person came up with uh who he picked. I don't know. I don't know who made the list and who didn't make the list. But you probably did. I don't know where he started or stopped with the numbers. I did tell him to rank the last one with subscribers number because I was curious as to what was considered a good number as a YouTube content creator. And it turned out when what is it? What's the first one was? Morning Star. You know, I know who these people are. I know exactly who they are. I get email from 'em every day, and then I'm going blank with the name. That's crazy. But anyway, they have a million. Yeah, Missouri Star. I'm in Missouri. Forgot Missouri Star. I um I didn't know that they were ranked number one, but that's interesting to know. But I'm gonna go ahead and say good night. I don't have to go to work in the morning, thank goodness, because I worked Monday for my coworker, and she's working today and tomorrow, and then I go in Thursday. So I'm happy about that. Yes, creating notion. It is Missouri Star. So I'm gonna say good night to everybody. And Sean, you said my SEO. I want to get that out. Had me number 2 in Texas. All righty then. You go, girl. That's good. That's great. That's great. That needs to be well. You know your audience. I don't know your audience, but I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, I would love to have a fun day Sunday with you talking about some of the things about how to get get you seen online. That would be great, especially since you know SEO, AEO, and algorithms and all of that stuff. That would be great. And Miss Joy, great live queen. Thank you so much for the information packed live. You are quite welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you next week. And happy 4th of July. Have a wonderful, safe holiday. And I will see you, the Lord's will, next Tuesday. And then I'll see all my other people tomorrow night. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night, everybody.